What if I told you the moment you stop trying to be the perfect caregiver is the moment you actually become the best one? Today, we're talking about something that millions of people are living right now, being a caregiver for someone you love. If you've ever felt like you're drowning while trying to keep someone else afloat, if you've ever felt guilty for just wanting 5 minutes to yourself, or if you've wondered if asking for help makes you weak, this episode is your permission slip to be human. Because here's the truth. Nobody talks about this. You can't pour from an empty cup, and pretending you're fine when you're not isn't helping anyone. Stay with me. And welcome back to Hope Regained. I'm your host, Christiane Boudreau, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today because we're looking into something that's really deeply personal and incredibly important. It's the journey of being a caregiver. Let me start with something that might surprise you. If you're caring for a loved one right now, you're not alone. In fact, you're part of a community over millions and millions of people around the world. But here's what's wild. Most of us feel completely isolated in the experience, all alone. I want to paint a picture that you might be familiar with. It's 2 a.m. You're awake again. Maybe it's because your loved one needed help. Or maybe it's because your mind won't stop racing with worry. You're exhausted, but somehow you'll get up in a few hours and put on that brave face again. You'll tell everyone, I'm fine, when they ask you how you're doing, even though you haven't had a full night's sleep in months. Sound familiar? Here's what I wish someone would have told me earlier in my caregiving journey. Overwhelmed doesn't make you weak. Feeling resentful doesn't mean you're a bad person. And needing help doesn't make you a failure. This episode is dedicated to you, Barbara, and you know who I'm talking about. Thank you for reminding me how important this topic really is. So let's get real about what caregiving actually costs us. And I don't just mean financially, though it certainly is a part for many of us. First off, it's the physical toll. Caregiving is physically demanding work. Even though you don't recognize it right away, you're just doing it, you're carrying on your everyday. But in actuality, a lot of times you're lifting, you're constantly on alert, tensing up muscles, and you're operating on broken sleep. Your body keeps score, even when your mind keeps trying to push through. Then there's the emotional toll. And this one's quite often hidden. A lot of people don't see it. You feel it, but you keep it buried deep down inside. You're watching someone you love struggle. You'd do anything to take their pain away. You're making decisions that you never thought you'd have to make. You're grieving. And sometimes it's for the person that they used to be that just isn't there anymore. And sometimes it's about the life you used to have. Or what about the future you thought you would share? Your dreams shattered. So let's talk about the social toll. That's something else that we often don't even think about. And it can actually hit quite hard. Friendships do change when you become a caregiver. Some people don't know what to say and they feel really uncomfortable. So it's easier for them to just avoid you or say nothing at all. Others offer help because out of guilt or feeling uncomfortable again, but they don't follow through. And you start declining invitations to go out with friends or groups of people you used to socialize with regularly, but you can't leave. And eventually, when you keep declining, people stop inviting. Here's the thing that really, really gets me is we live in a culture or a society that really pushes and celebrates self-sacrifice, especially when it comes for caring a loved one or a family member. We're told that good people, loving people, put everyone else first. But what happens when putting everyone else first means that you disappear completely? I remember a conversation I had with my mom, who'd been caring for my dad with dementia and cancer while going through COVID. Sorry. She was isolated times 10. And I couldn't even get there because I lived in another country and it was COVID and I couldn't fly due to the rules. I just couldn't get there. I could hear the stress in her voice along with the guilt for venting. And I was so afraid that she would lose herself in all of it. Sorry. Again, very close and personal. And it hit me really, really hard because I think so many of us can relate to that feeling of losing ourselves in the caregiving role. And guilt, the huge feeling of guilt and loneliness and helplessness is another big, big one. There's nothing you can do, especially in a situation like COVID. So, sorry. I always promised I'd be vulnerable and let me be me. So you're going to see all of it, and I'm not going to cut any of it out. So I know what you're thinking. Great. Another person telling me I need to practice self-care. And I've got to be one of the worst when everybody used to tell me, you need to practice self-care. What is that? I'll just run a bubble bath, and between this appointment and the work and these phone calls and other family members and friends, right, as if you have time. I get it. The way that self-care is talked about, it often feels like you're in the thick of things as a caregiver and nobody really gets it. You don't have time for a yoga retreat or a holiday on the French Riviera or spa day. What's that? When somebody's life really depends on you. But here's what real self-care looks like for caregivers. It means eating something other than your loved ones' leftovers, whether it be a sandwich or the rest of the meal on that plate, while standing in the kitchen, getting ready to do the dirty dishes. It's asking a neighbor or a friend who keeps saying, let me know if you need anything, to actually let them know that you need something. Can you please watch your loved one just for an hour so you can have a shower in peace? Something as simple as that. Self-care is also about setting boundaries. And I know I bring boundaries up over and over and over again, but that's a really important piece in self-care and being who we need to be. That's self-awareness and setting those limits so you don't break. It's saying, I need 10 minutes, just 10 minutes to make a phone call and not feel guilty. Self-care is about recognizing your needs no matter what. I'm not saying it's more than your loved one's needs, but you have nothing left to give them unless you matter too. And here's a really big one. Self-care is asking for help because you're completely burned out. Don't wait until you get there. This is hard, but stay with me because we're going to talk about why this is so important. It's critical. There's a myth out there somewhere that being strong means handling everything on your own. But I'm going to challenge that with you today, because what if I told you that vulnerability is actually a superpower? Just like I was letting you see my tears, I have the strength to share that with you, complete strangers. When we're vulnerable, we can admit we're struggling. We give other people permission to be human too. We create connection instead of isolation. So that hand up saying, I'm fine, you don't connect with another human being. But if you're vulnerable and say how you really feel, then you're giving that opportunity, A, for them to be human, and B, for you to have that emotional connection. That's an important part of our being. Another story I have is about a friend of mine, Marcus. I'm going to use a fake name here because I don't want to give their story away, but he was caring for his partner with cancer. For months on end, he told everybody, I'm fine, and that he had everything under control. Then one day at the grocery store, he ran into a colleague, a work colleague, mind you, who asked how he was doing. And instead of saying his usual fine, he completely broke down right there in the vegetable aisle in front of everybody. You know what happened? In that one moment, that colleague didn't run away. Instead, he said, my mom went through chemo last year. I know. It's hell. What do you need? That one conversation led to a support system that Marcus didn't even know he had. Being vulnerable isn't about trauma dumping on everyone you meet. It's about being honest about your experience and open to connection and support. Support is something we all need. It's life-changing. It's about finding your community. I can't tell you how important it is to connect with other people who understand what you're going through. I'm not just saying it because it sounds nice or it's what everybody wants to hear or we've heard it many times. There's actually research showing that caregivers who have strong support systems have better physical health, lower rates of depression, and are able to provide care for longer periods of time. Support groups aren't just about venting. Sometimes you need to do that too, and that's okay. It's about practical advice from people who've gone through what you're going through. They're learning about what you're feeling is normal. So you're sharing in a two-way street. It's about having people who understand why you cried over something really simple, or why you felt guilty about watching a movie by yourself, enjoying it in quiet solitude. I know some of you are thinking that I don't have time for support groups, but in today's world, it's much easier than that. There's a lot of online groups, and I know because I've met with them myself. Some meet early in the morning or late at night, just when you have that quiet moment. And some it's just a basic text message where you can check in. You can find support groups through a healthcare provider, organizations specific to whatever condition you're dealing with, or a community center. There are also online platforms. It's just a matter of doing a Google search. And we all know how to do a Google search, almost all. And if you can't find one that works for you, you can consider starting one. I know I did exactly that when I was going through something very unique that nobody could understand, what I was feeling, the pain I was going through. And I was always faced with so much judgment. As soon as I found my people, my support network, and I did the homework, I sought them out, and it was international. But once I found that, I could really start to heal and move forward instead of being stuck alone. And that's a dark place you don't want to be in. I know we've only scratched the surface here, and I promise to give you some more in-depth circumstances or stories further on down the road. I've been seeking out several guests that can talk to this topic, that are willing to be vulnerable themselves, to share with you, to help you on your journey. But I do want to leave this with you. Caregiving is one of the most challenging things you'll ever do, but it's also one of the most meaningful. The love that drives you to show up every day, even when it's hard, is beautiful and it's powerful. And when you no longer have that person in your life, you can look back at saying, at least I had that. That love doesn't require you to disappear, and it doesn't require you to suffer in silence. And you know what else? You don't need to be perfect. What it does mean is taking care of yourself, though, so you can keep showing up. It means being honest about what you need, and it means accepting help that is being offered to you. It's about being smart. Your loved one needs you. I get it. Yes. But they need the best version of you, not the completely depleted version of you. So here's your homework for the week. Do one thing that acknowledges your own needs. Maybe it's calling that friend who offered the help. Maybe it's looking up a support group. And maybe it's just a matter of admitting to someone that you're having a really hard time. Whatever it is, just remember that taking care of you isn't selfish. It's necessary. Thanks so much for being here today, even amidst my tears, and for being brave enough to show up for someone else you love, and for listening. You're not alone on this journey. You're never alone on any journey. And if you know someone that could really hear this today, please, please share it with them. I've created a support worksheet that you can find on our website, www.hopeagain.com. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss anything new coming up. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. And please, please feel free to comment or send us a private message. I love hearing from you. Plus, your comment could just be what someone else needs to hear at this moment. I'm still working on a project, and it's going to take a bit, but it's about building a community for all of us to connect and continue growing together in a supportive, positive, safe space. So stay tuned for that. I'll see you next week. And until then, keep finding hope. You're so worth it.